I've grown up in a small little town with really not much of an option for high schools. I've been really scared to talk about being trans. I haven't told anyone at my old school. I don't want to assume, but I do feel like, I'd probably get bullied. It's a small town in Queensland, and so like being at high school, it was really terrifying. I had no one to talk to about that sort of thing.
While Maggie hasn't always felt at home in Biloela in central Queensland, she says there's one thing that's really helped her: making connections on social media.
You might feel like you're the only person of 8 billion people who understands what you're going through. And then when you go on the internet, you see one, and then you see a dozen, and then you see hundreds of people who are just like you, people who understand you. At the very least, you can be yourself on social media.
Those ones. I'm basic. Oh, cow. I'm so basic.
Maggie's one of many Aussie high schoolers who say that while social media has a negative side, there are a whole lot of positives as well. Especially if you're a young person in a minority who might otherwise feel isolated.
This is a photo from the first time when I went to Cambodia, and I got to meet all of my relatives for the first time.
Wow.
Social media has been really helpful with connecting with my family. It's also terribly expensive to travel overseas, and with social media it's just a lot easier to talk to people that you can't usually see.
Learn 6 words in Khmer.
Social media has also been helping me learn my home language, and it helps me to become more fluent.
Letitia and Maggie both say the federal government's proposed national age restrictions for social media, potentially for teens up to 16 years old, would have a negative impact on their lives and others.
I believe that the ban would distance myself from other family members that I obviously can't see. It just makes communication a lot more difficult, especially since other people don't have certain platforms that makes it harder to reach out to one another.
Well, if social media were to be banned, it would ruin so many people's, honestly, I'd say, lives. Some of these friends that I know in Sydney, they're out as bisexual or gay or trans to me, but not to their parents because they're terrified of what would happen. And so cutting off that lifeline for queer kids like me would completely, ruin their ability to be themselves, which is something that is so incredibly important to young people.
Some experts agree that teenagers who will struggle the most with a ban will be those who find connection to things like their sexual identity, cultural heritage, or even just like-minded people online.
There are lots of examples of people basically finding the support, finding the acceptance, finding the community that they need online, and then really that's the thing that has helped them become who they are and solidify their sense of identity, their sense of worth in a way that perhaps they weren't immediately able to get face to face. So I think they're the groups that we imagine this will do the most immediate harm to, but there are lots of other groups as well where the doors will essentially be closed.
For Maggie, that door closing is also her access to news and politics. Through social media, she ended up joining teen-run news program 6 News as a reporter.
And it's really given me a fascination with politics. I'm hopefully planning to be a politician when I'm older, but we'll have to see where that goes, of course. The constituents decide whether I get that job, not me.
So Maggie, what happens then if there's a social media ban?
Instantly, I lose my job. We're all completely run on social media. We run on every major social media platform.
Letitia says a ban would also impact her ability to learn new things.
I have a terribly busy schedule with school and out-of-school activities, and being able to simply just search up guitar tutorials on social media is just really easy and convenient for me, so I can do it whenever I need to. It's also really expensive for guitar lessons and music lessons in general, so being able to find something quickly off the internet for free is really helpful.
Many Australians reckon the harms of social media outweigh the benefits for young people and have raised concerns about inappropriate and illegal content, cyberbullying, and social media's impact on mental health and well-being. That includes Federal Communications Minister Michelle Rowland, who I asked about the fears many young people have around a ban.
Social media can have many benefits. particularly for young people who might be isolated for different reasons. But there are real-world harms that also come from social media. This is important work aimed at the protection, not the isolation and not the punishment of young people like you.
But hundreds of Australian academics and experts have signed an open letter against a social media ban, including Professor Lever.
I just don't think it'll achieve much at all, and I think it'll actually do a disservice to young people by blocking them from a space and a resource that is incredibly important to them.
He says removing younger teens doesn't solve enough problems, but may just delay them until they're older. And he reckons it could leave young people with even less understanding of how to safely navigate the world of social media going forward.
I think really the biggest challenge for young people is the real potential of a sea of disinformation. But we're also at a moment with generative AI where the ability to create convincing looking images, video and text is so high compared to the literacy of being able to judge that and understand the context of that. That's tomorrow's problem. Let's address tomorrow's problem and not address an imagined yesterday.
To Australia and now. I believe that social media has many different problems, but it's also a really impactful platform. I'd like to see some restrictions, such as content restrictions, just something that would filter out like things that shouldn't be seen on social media.
Really, we need to make sure that cyberbullying and misinformation are threats that we're taught about and educated about in an engaging manner. But I don't think a blanket ban would necessarily be the answer. It takes away a lot of negatives, not all of them, but in the end it strips away all the positives of social media from people who desperately need it.